All right, Lindsay, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
We are so excited to talk to you. And we're at Imperium Data. This is Lindsay's company where she works, and she's going to tell us her story. We're super excited. It's a amazing story about her courage and strength and how she got to where she is today. So let's dive right in. So I guess first of all, tell us, I mean, there's a beginning. So
Yes.
before we dive in really deep, like just kind of tell us your background, where it started, and so our listeners get to learn a little bit about you.
Got it. So I started working in the IT reseller industry back in 2015. Worked for a previous company with Nick and Brian, and back in 2018 they decided to split off and start their own business. And back in November of 2018, I joined the company. So I've been with them since then.
Awesome.
Yes.
And side note, so we met Nick and Brian at Small Business of the Year last year, which you guys won.
Yes, we did.
Right, for your
We won.
category.
Thank you.
So congratulations, that's huge. And they've been great in supporting us and Next Path. So great group, great company.
So have you always been interested in tech? How did you get into
No,
tech?
I actually started working in the medical field, and I worked in the medical field from the age of 18 until about 2018. I was kind of burnt out, and there's, only so far you can grow within the medical field. So I did sales previously, but coming into IT was completely new for me, and my head spun for probably a good year before I grasped what I was doing.
Right.
Yes.
And were you doing sales whenever you first started, or?
I was.
Yeah.
I joined the previous company. I was in sales and worked directly with customers. I learned a lot very quickly. And that's what, I loved it and continued on my path.
Awesome. Well, so tell us, like, prior, I know whenever we talked before, you were kind of telling us like the beginning of your journey, and just outside of work and how you built your character and who you are today. Tell us a little backstory.
So I'm a single mom. I have two beautiful children. My daughter just turned 19 and my son's 13. When my son was born, I became a single mom quickly and all by myself. So I've kind of done everything for them. I've always focused on my kids and, how I can better myself for them. And that's really my why as to where I've grown as a person.
I love that. Kids will definitely do that to you.
Yes. A lot of work, but totally worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't know how I do it, but, get it done.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you were a full-time working mom with
Yep.
two kids, and I know that wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't, Mom. I would say if it wasn't for my family, I don't think I could have done it without them. I definitely lean on them, and family's everything to me. My mom and dad, they live down the street from me. My sister lives across the street from me. So family is everything to me.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I've always wanted that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, and then so already you were building that character and the strength that just comes within, and you had to do it no matter what. Like
no matter what.
You didn't have a choice.
Failure is not and never will be an option.
Right. I love that mindset. And so then you started, well, once you came to Imperium Data, am I saying that right?
Imperium Data.
Okay. I didn't want to be saying the wrong thing.
Got it.
So once you came to Imperium Data, that was how long ago?
2018, October 2nd. I was supposed to start the 1st, and then my air conditioning went out. So I was a day late, but I started in October 2018.
Isn't it funny the things that we remember?
Right.
Yeah.
Like dates.
Significant.
And yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, so 2020 with the Small Business of the Year.
Yep, 2020. Okay. We were up for Small Business of the Year. Shot a lot of videos in the office. Contributed as much as I could. Fast forward, I was traveling in November of 2020 to see a customer. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It was October, the end of October. And when I came back, lo and behold, I got COVID. So it got me. I wore a mask. I did everything I could have, but I got COVID. 10 days later, I landed in the hospital for COVID, and I was there for probably 4 days. But that's where my journey really got difficult and hard on me and my family.
If it wasn't already.
Yes. So in the hospital, the nice doctor tried to tell me in so many words, hey, we think you have cancer. And it wasn't resonating with me. I kept saying, okay, so once I'm COVID negative, I'll be fine. And that went on for like 10 minutes. And then finally she says, okay, I'm just not going to sugarcoat it anymore. We think you have cancer. And I was like, what? Those are words that nobody ever wants to hear.
No.
Especially being isolated and all by yourself. You have nobody there to comfort you, to talk to you, to, even just say it's going to be okay, even though you don't know at that point. So that's where my journey got really difficult. And I had to take a step back and just reevaluate everything, and from there, I had to have lots of testing and medical things done. And it was confirmed, I would say, actually, I had my biopsy the day before Thanksgiving. So all these dates are very significant. I can remember. I had my biopsy the day before Thanksgiving. They went right through my sternum and I was awake for that.
Wait, explain that.
So they took a 18 gauge needle. Actually, I'm sorry, it was a 10 gauge needle. It's about this long. And they basically stick it inside of your bone here. Then in the tube of the hollow needle, they take pieces of your tissue to test it. So it had to be a CT guided biopsy. So I was awake for the entire procedure.
Were you numb at least?
No.
No?
Did it hurt? It did. Afterwards, it did not. So immediately after, I was still working at the time. I was in recovery and working from my phone and closing deals. I think that in the hospital,
girl, in the hospital closing deals.
I think I got I closed a phone order, a pretty large phone order that day. And everyone's like, you're supposed to be recovering. I just love working. So it's, for me, I was like, I
keeps your mind off of
it,
right?
Yeah, it absolutely does. If, going through that and, staying busy is probably what helped me out too.
Right.
But yeah, so I had that. And then the week after Thanksgiving, I got my biopsy results and it was confirmed that I did have Hodgkins lymphoma. Hodgkins lymphoma is a hematology cancer. So it's a blood cancer. It affects your lymph nodes and it can grow very rapidly and quickly. It's a very, I would say, it's one of the most aggressive growing cancers, but it's the easiest to treat and it has the highest cure rate. So 95% cure rate. So once I knew that, I kind of felt like I knew what I was dealing with. And it was to me like, okay, what's next? Let's get it treated. The only time I think I did get a little emotional when I talked to the oncologist for the first time, because it was so many things that I was just getting hit with all at once. So much information, testing, more doctor's appointments, more scans, more blood work. I think I've probably had more blood work that I could ever imagine in my lifetime, just from the start of being sick. Yeah. Right. So just going through all the motions to get started. I did get accepted into Moffitt Cancer Center for treatment. So as soon as I got accepted, they had a treatment plan for me. Trying to think. December. I saw them in December for the first time. And then we wanted to get through Christmas. Didn't quite make it to New Year's. So I had my first chemo treatment on New Year's Eve.
Oh.
So I was sitting in the chemo chair New Year's Eve when everyone's celebrating and, having a good time. But to me, I didn't mind. I was excited to get started because I knew it was going to save my life. I was going to get through it. So I was really like, all right, let's get going. Let's get started.
Wait, so you said accepted into Moffitt. Is there like an application?
They don't take every patient.
Okay.
It just depends on the case and, other factors. So I know even my pulmonologist from Baycare Hospital asked me, like, how did you get in Moffitt? So it's not everybody is, lucky enough, I would say. Right. So I felt very, very lucky that I was accepted into Moffitt for treatment because, they're one of the top rated hospitals in the entire country.
Right.
So they're in our backyard. Why wouldn't I go?
Right.
So,
wow.
Yeah, thank God for them too.
Yeah, no. And could you go to those appointments with somebody or did you have to go by yourself?
I did. So when I first started going, they allow you to take one person with you. And through that, they could go back, and the doctors, if the doctor's seeing you, they could come back. But when it was time for chemo and getting an infusion, they didn't allow anybody. So I had to do it all by myself. The first chemo treatment, I'm laughing now because I can, but at first I did cry a little bit that time too, because I didn't know what to expect.
Right. Scary.
I had a few weeks before I had a chemo port placed, and it's right here in your upper chest area. That's where they administer the chemo, and you get your treatments through there. And they kept asking me, is your port accessed? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. This is my first time.
Right.
So they had to say, oh, I'm sorry. And she explained it to me. So what they do, they take a little needle. It looks like a thumbtack, and they push that into you. And then it's like an IV through your chemo port. And that's how you get your chemo medicine.
Wow.
So it's literally stuck here.
It's stuck here. Time. I still have it. Yeah.
I
still have it. I have to keep it for a year.
Okay. Yes. Just in case.
Just in case. Yeah. Because with this cancer, it can relapse very quickly. So my doctor said I could have it out. And I said, well, if it was you, what would you do? And she said I'd keep it for a year. So that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Can you notice it? I mean,
you can see it.
Yeah. I mean, does it bother you?
It doesn't bother me. I've actually grown to love it.
Really?
I have. At first, I hated it. Yeah. It hurt so bad getting it. Out of everything that I had done through my entire journey, the chemo port was probably the most.
Just the port.
It hurt.
Really?
It hurt. I did not expect it to hurt. It hurt. Yeah. It was painful.
Well, that's a symbol of your strength too now. Right? Like it's like a badge.
Yeah. Oh, jinx. A chemo badge. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a badge that you want, but you have had to.
I've embraced it.
Yes.
I have embraced it. So, my first chemo treatment, it went, I don't want to say it went well. I did better than I expected to. Just the unknown was scary to me. Mm-hmm. And once I had chemo, I'm waiting and waiting. I'm like, all right, when are the bad side effects coming? I didn't really have, the first one, I didn't really have a lot of side effects. I would say the more treatments I had and when they started to accumulate, I did start to feel side effects more. The worst for me, I call it chemo brain. Your brain's foggy. You can't remember things. I kept repeating myself to my kids.
Well, who doesn't? Right?
Oh no, it was a lot worse.
They're like, okay, mom, we'll make our bed. I got it.
Yeah. So then 2 weeks after my second infusion, that's the really only time that I did cry. My hair started falling out. And it fell out in clumps, just massive amount of hair. My hair used to be dark and long, almost down to my waist. So to lose all your hair within a week was terrible.
That is.
For me, and I know it sounds really terrible to say this, but losing my hair was worse than when I found out I had cancer. It's just, for me, it was.
It was a visual.
It was so traumatic.
Right.
It was so traumatic for me. And even now, this is obviously not my hair. This is the good hair. This is a wig. But, thank God that, there's great wigs out there, but it is something that really still bothers me. Mm-hmm.
Well, as a female too, it's like, we really not rely on our hair, but that's kind of part of us, part of you.
In hindsight though, and I said this to my mom the other day, I said, it's really terrible to lose your hair and the way you lose it. It's traumatic, but I would trade my hair to live any day. Right. So I do know that. And I know, I know it's temporary, but it really is very traumatic, the whole hair loss thing.
I'm sure. So. And you rock the wigs very well though. Like they're beautiful.
You look so good as a blonde. I'm really jealous. I love it.
I've always wanted to go blonde and never could because my hair is so dark and then it just falls out and breaks. So this is a good way to do something that you normally couldn't.
Right.
Yeah. So
tell us about how you like signs that you probably did have cancer but didn't realize it. Yeah, ignored it, because I think like that's really important to talk about and to share, because when you shared it with us earlier, we had no idea that could have been a sign.
Yeah. So, I had a cough, when I was younger, I had asthma. I've always had allergies. I had this persistent cough that was with me for 6 to 9 months, I would say. I was getting sick, bronchitis, sinus infections, ear infections, and I've never been a sick person. So I was going to the doctor, doing everything they told me to do, getting allergy testing, and nothing. Everybody kept saying allergies and asthma. My primary care, I kept going back to him. He's like, well, go see this specialist. And poor thing, he sent me to so many different specialists, and nobody caught the cancer. Nobody did a chest x-ray because of the cough. Nobody did blood work for me. Then my white blood count was actually, when I was in hospital for COVID, it was up to 15. It's supposed to be lower than 9 or 10. Oh, wow. So it was really elevated. And that was one of the signs that they're like, we think you have cancer. And I just was like, okay,
yeah, whatever.
When COVID's gone, I'll be fine.
Right.
Also too, when I love to work out, and I go to the gym 5 to 6 times a week. And previously, when I would leave work, sometimes I'm like, I'm tired. I don't feel like going to the gym today. And that's not like me. And I just chalked it up to being tired from work. And, because with any job you have stress, and, that's how I manage. But sometimes I'm like, I'm just tired and didn't go. But now that I feel good, I'm like, I can't ever say that I'm tired from that. So in hindsight, I did see like I was fatigued and didn't know.
Right.
Yeah.
When you said coughing, and I asked you earlier, like, well, what does that mean? Like, if we were talking right now and you were coughing, what, how many times did you cough? And what did you say?
Every few sentences I would cough. I wouldn't be able to have a full-on conversation for more than 5 minutes without coughing at least 2 or 3 times.
Right.
Every day, all day long.
That makes me like just want to breathe in and get some air.
Oh. So, when, going to Moffitt, originally they thought I would have 8 chemo treatments. That was the deal. But with the size of my mass, they brought my case to the tumor board. And the tumor board said, your mass is too big. We need to do 12 treatments. So I finished 8 and thought I was done. And between the 8th treatment, that was supposed to be my last, I went out to dinner with my friends to celebrate. One of my best friends, she was also going through chemo as well. Wow. So she has breast cancer. And her and I finished chemo at the same time. Wow. So we're like, we're going to go to dinner. We're going to celebrate. And that night I came home and I just felt really tired and shortness of breath and something. I wasn't sure. Maybe it was because I was out later than I normally am. I'm like, all right. So I went to sleep. The next morning I woke up and I felt worse. Throughout the day, I kind of felt like I was getting a fever. I took my temperature. I had a fever. So when you're going through chemo and you're immunocompromised, anything, you got to go to the ER. So I went to the ER and I had another setback. So I ended up with blood clots in both of my lungs.
Oh my goodness.
And on the scale, they classify them in 3, like small, medium, and large. And I had 2 very large blood clots in each lung. So if I didn't go to the hospital that night, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. Wow. So that was very scary. And while I was in the hospital and they tell me, you got to get this treated right away. I didn't think about what I had. I was like, all right, let's get treated. My daughter was with me at the time. She's like, Mom, you have blood clots. Do you realize? I'm like, yeah, I know. So she realized the severity of it. But me facing something like that, I was like, all right, let's just get it treated. And that was my thought process on getting through that until I was discharged from the hospital. That's when it hit me what I had. I was like, wow. That was probably the second time I cried through the whole journey.
Right. That's scary.
Very scary. Very scary.
I really like your just kind of thought process on, okay, this is wrong. Okay. How do we fix it? You didn't
freak
take time
out
to dwell in it. Right. You didn't freak out, at least initially, like freak out later.
Yeah.
But like figure it out.
Solution first and then worry about it later. Yeah.
I think that's valuable because I think a lot of people kind of stir in the issue or like me, sometimes I'll, what's the word I'm looking for? Procrastinate in it, right? Like you have an issue and then maybe you don't respond to it right away or you don't deal with it right away.
Yeah.
And I like how you just took it head on.
You have to.
Yeah.
That's the best piece of advice I could give to anybody when it comes to your health. If something's wrong, jump in, get it treated. Don't wait, don't hesitate. I know I understand some people like second opinions, but when it's something life-threatening like a blood clot, just take care of it.
Right. And you listen to your body too.
Yes. If I didn't, and if I just went to sleep that Sunday night and just thought, okay, I definitely wouldn't be sitting here right now. I was, hours away from dying. Yeah.
So has that like, or what about that has changed your outlook on life, or like, did it?
I mean, yes and no. I still, to this day, I'm in disbelief of what I went through. So I'm still trying to work through how to cope with what I went through. I know Nick and Brian are trying to help me out with that. Me taking time for myself and slowing down. And it's hard for me because I've always been like, let's go, let's get it done. Let's, figure it out. But for me, it's so hard to slow down and realize like what I went through. I'm a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all are.
Yeah.
And with your kids, like with them, because I'm sure it scared them and has changed some of their outlook, or
I'm not sure. My son, since he's younger, he doesn't really like to talk about it.
Really?
Some of his friends come over and one of them said like, "Oh, you changed your hair. It looks pretty." And
Aww.
I was like, "Isaiah, does he not know I have cancer?" And he's like, "I don't talk about it."
Aww.
Yeah. So he doesn't really talk about it, but he's, he talks to me about it. When he realized Hodgkins lymphoma was cancer, I'll never forget it. We were sitting watching TV and a commercial for a medicine came on, and it was talking about side effects and said, if you have cancer or Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he turned and looked at me and was like, "You have cancer?" And then he cried, and I was like, my mommy heart. So that was a hard time. My daughter, she does work in the medical field, so she was very aware, and she took great care of me. She actually took a job at the hospital to work at night. I'm gonna cry. To take care of me during the day.
Aww.
So she's my rock. I don't even, without her, she took care of me, took me to so many appointments at Moffitt, took care of me, and she would work 12-hour shifts at night and still be up during the day to take care of me. So she definitely had to grow up a little bit faster at 18. So
well, you raised her well. Yeah. Yes, she loves her mommy.
Yes.
Sounds like. So now you're cancer free.
I am cancer free. Right? Mm-hmm. I completed my last 4 treatments. July 3rd was my last chemo treatment. So
very exciting.
Yes, it was exciting. I did come back to work 2 weeks after. Didn't really understand how to slow down, and I'm still trying to work on that, on slowing down. And like I said, I'm a work in progress.
It's an adjustment.
It's very,
I'm sure.
very difficult. Yeah, and I didn't realize it until it was pointed out to me.
Right, because it's you. It's just how you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're in sales. So that's one of those roles where you have to go. And
while I was out, the team did an amazing job of helping me and, working for me and doing everything for me while I was gone. Because I was gone from November until July.
Wow.
We got our big, beautiful office and I didn't see it. I couldn't step foot here. I couldn't do anything between, just with COVID and not really sure with, the unknowns. I didn't leave my house.
Right.
I didn't want to get sick.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. So, but it's finally good to feel good.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you look great. I was so excited to meet you in person.
Thank you.
You're such an inspiration, and I know you're going to do great things, for the company and for your family and yourself. Thank you for Imperium Data for having us here in person.
Thank you for coming. It's very exciting. This is your first offsite podcast.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love coming and seeing your office and bringing all of our equipment here and seeing how that worked out, because we weren't really sure, but I think it turned out great.
I think so. Yeah. Make sure you guys subscribe and like and comment. We really appreciate all the love. And until next time, live bold and boss up.